So ladies, you must have come from man and not man from the woman. Isn't that so? All right, ladies, you were taken from the side, not to be the head, but not to be trampled underfoot either. Equal partners, equal partners. But you were taken from the man. It's the only one that makes any sense. It could not have been the other way around. It's impossible. So reproductive exchange. Independent assorting during meiosis. Remember, it can go this way, that way. That's the 80 trillion offspring that I could have produced. And then I have crossing over during meiosis, such a complex mechanism that scientists are still boggled with how it works. It is so beautiful, the mechanism. It is so complicated. You cannot even believe it. Do you know what? You first have to unwind the DNA. Then you have to get an enzyme to cut the one strand. And then you have to get an enzyme to cut the other strand. Then you have to cross-link them. To do that, you have to turn it round. You have enzymes releasing the tension. You have enzymes attaching to either side of the DNA, and the DNA unwinds. Have you tried that? If I have a piece of string, two strings wrapped around each other, you take the one side and I take the other side, and you start unwinding. What happens in the middle? The knot gets tighter and tighter, right? That's what DNA does. That's what DNA does. Yet every time you replicate, you have to actually relieve that tension. Wow, how do you do that? Well, there's a ball-bearing joint enzyme in the middle that as you start pulling here on the sides, it cuts and allows free rein and then splices it together again. Then as you pull some more, it goes carries on like it is such a complicated mechanism. And then you have enzymes running up and down. The one is adding at thousands of nucleotides per second, not making a mistake. A to T, A to T, A to T, G to C, G to C, C to G, and at a tremendous speed. I've got millions of genes. The job has to be finished within a few minutes when the cell divides. Not one mistake. Then I've got a whole host of enzymes coming afterwards called editase. Nice name, editors. Going tick, 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 tick. Checking, are there any spelling mistakes in this? Because we'd hate you to be cabbages once you come out, right? No spelling mistakes. And you must now believe that that came about by chance. It's your only choice because it's genotype. I want to tell you that every single one of those mechanisms is more complicated than what man has ever devised with all his ingenuity. And yet it came about by chance. So let's go to these creatures. Look at all these different ones. Do you have a problem with those birds looking all different after this lecture? No. But if you look at the human race, we say, where did this all come from? Well, look at them. Those are the women of the world, and I'm showing them to you first because, let's face it, they are far more attractive than the males. But I'd like you to note, please, that in the animal world, the male is the beautiful of the species. Any bird, you just look at the hummingbird or any creature, the male is the star. But in women, I guess it's just a little bit different. But she came out of whom? All right, they are the men. They might all look different, handsome as they are. There are some couples, and there are some kids. Now, kids are great to work with, because if you look at them, they're all cute, aren't they? No matter what race, what tribe, what nation they come from, they're all cute. So let's have a quick glimpse at this issue. Adam and Eve, they must have had the built-in variety for everything that we have on the planet today. Is that right? Yeah. So I would reckon they weren't snowy white, and they weren't totally black. They were something in between. And the capacity to get all of that was built in. One of them must have had brown eyes. Brown is dominant. It could have had recessive eyes of another color. And there could have been all the recessive genes for all the other colors. Maybe Eve also had brown eyes, but she could also have had blue eyes or any one of those. Today, if one parent is brown-eyed and the other one is blue-eyed, then you can have any combination provided that the father has recessive blue. All right? If both parents have blue eyes, that means they have the recessive gene only. If their child then has brown eyes, it means that the father is the postman. Okay? So Adam and Eve had every single gene it takes to make all the races of man. And had all the possible traits to make all the different races. Darwin comes along and he says, no, survival of the fittest. The persecutions and the racism that we have in the world, some of it directly linked back, like the Aborigines in Australia, were hunted because of Darwinian concepts. Darwinism lays the foundation for racism. God, as we see, is a lover of variety. So much built-in variety. If you look at the fruits of the world, if you look at, that's another question in itself. Fruit. It has every single nutrient that we need. But the plant doesn't need it for its seed. The seed is enough. So what's the fruit for? Is a banana a good way to propagate seed? It doesn't even need it. But it's got everything that you and I need. This is all evidence of creation. This is evidence for design. And you have these two great choices that we have to make in our life today. So here you have a fruit fly. This has been bombarded with more technology and evolutionary processes than anything else. You'll see there are fruit flies with brown eyes, with red eyes, with white eyes, with one body, with two bodies, with one wing pair, with two pairs, with no pairs, with short wings, with long wings. But it's always fruit flies. How many tunes can I play on a piano? Unlimited tunes. But it's always piano music. How many tunes can I play on a violin? Unlimited number of tunes, but it's always violin music. That's how it works. God built in mechanisms for variety. So if Darwin, having traveled to the Galapagos Islands, had known that God built in variety, different alleles, God increases variety enormously through all the processes that we've gone through, would he have had a problem with his finches, yes or no? No. He would have said, wow, they had the capacity to change and produce all of this, just like we can produce the Chihuahua and the Great Dane out of the wolf. What a wonderful creator. Would we have had racism today on this planet had we known that God created variety for the enjoyment of all? If you go to Africa, and the African people are, how shall I put this? The African people are event-orientated. We will meet, and the party starts when we are all there. The German people in the world are what? Time-orientated. The party will start at 8 o'clock precisely, yeah? At 8:05, the guests are not there. The wife has a nervous breakdown. At 8:10, they're in the loony bin. Have you ever been to Germany? In Italy, if the party starts at 8 o'clock and the guests are not there, if the guests arrive at 8 o'clock, the wife has a nervous breakdown because they shouldn't have been there for another 2 hours, right? In Africa, the party starts maybe the next day. Depends whether everybody's got there or not. And when it does start, it doesn't stop. So where would you like to go for a relaxing holiday? Germany or Africa? You know, the different mindsets are just different. And if we know that God is a lover of variety, then we can experience the beauty of different flowers, the different aspects of our lives, different ways of thinking. Can you imagine two lovers, both nuclear physicists, and two lovers, both lovers of classical music, coming together on their first date? Can you imagine how different that experience will be? Totally different.